Good night, good night, good night. Welcome again to another episode of Fortress Fitness Lifestyle Podcast, and where we talk to all kind of health professional and people who have the means and ways to help you change your lifestyle on this particular platform. And tonight we have an amazing guest, right? Amazing guest who I've met not too long ago, and he bringing tonight, knowledge on health, wellness, and men health. And I mean, it's more than I can really say because he's an amazing gentleman. And it was an honor for me, who doing what I do, to meet someone like that. So let's bring down now on stage Mr. Ronald Nelson. And Ronald, I hope I pronounce you Ronald Nelson. I know it's somewhere around there, right?
Anything like that could work. Anything like that
Right.
could work.
So first of all, Ron, I just want to say good night, and it's an honor to have you on this platform.
It's a pleasure to be here, and I couldn't do an intro like that in my life. So thanks for that.
Well, for the viewers, and I do have a few viewers well who just log in to this podcast. I look forward, and for what I see there with you, Ron, you're the founder of Prime Legacy. You're doing martial arts over a decade now, right? And is a personal trainer. That's a lot for that one body that you had there, right? And you're into mental health as well, which is what we're going to talk about tonight. All right. But before we get into that, I would like you to just, explain and just give us a rundown on the purpose and the reason for the Prime Legacy and Wellness Company.
Sure, no problem. So Prime Legacy, it was officially launched last year, at the end of last year, and it was actually inspired by my father. Uh, if I could give a quick background of myself, so
Yes.
I've been in sports all my life. I did track and field, I did football, I did cricket. I toured for cricket. Went to university with track. Like sports has
Oh,
been a part
yeah.
of my life, and my father was a part of that all the way through. And he was a
Wow.
sportsman himself. Um, but as he got older, sometimes life happens. You can't train like you used to, and then he started to put on size, put on weight. Then the weight started to affect his back and his limbs. Um, he had a prostate scare that he got over that. But then you started to notice as the years went on, he started to go down and down. Yeah, more pain. And um, one morning, I was actually I was actually in UE trying to pursue a second degree. Um, I went to school, normal day, and I got the worst phone call you could possibly get. It was my mom screaming on the phone, "Daddy not responding, Daddy not responding." So I didn't know what to do. I fumbling. I don't know what to do. One of my friends, he took my keys and he took my bag and said, "Let's go." I jumped in the car and we were trying to rush home. And by the time I hit, well, it was still they still had the kid on the lights in
Yeah.
Curacao. By the time I hit the kid on the lights, my brother called and well said the worst thing I could possibly hit. And that year, that was 11 years ago now, 2014. That was one of the worst years of my life because I lost the person that I looked up to, and not too long after that, I lost one of my best friends to murder. And it wasn't because sometimes you see people in Trinidad, they lose their life through murder, and people think, okay, well, he was in something, he was doing something. But
Yeah.
actually
Yeah. Yeah.
wasn't that wasn't the case. He witnessed his grandfather's murder. They came to rob them. His grandfather tried to fight them off, got killed. They found one. He wanted to testify, and on his way to work, they got rid of him. So 2014 was a difficult year,
Yeah.
and
That's challenging.
yeah, and then spiraling. I began to spiral because it's like you don't know what to do, you don't know where to turn. It's just me and my mom now, that kind of thing, and I got into a really dark place. And you know, in I heard about capoeira. It sounded like something that I could do, something that I aligned with because it's an African Brazilian-based martial art, and that was the only martial art that I aligned with. Um, so I decided to try it, and at the beginning it was tough. Like capoeira is one of the most difficult things I've done. I've been a sportsman all my life, and I have never experienced anything like that.
Yeah, that's
So
that.
it was challenging. But long story short, that same capoeira got me out of that dark place, and
Nice.
I used that to get me into personal training. And here I am, and here Prime Legacy is. It's in a nutshell.
Wow, that is a 2014 to you will want to forget, but you will always remember.
Yeah, for sure, for
Yeah,
sure.
that's not much. There's a lot of us people, I guess, have stories that change them. They say life could throw bricks at you, and it's not everybody could really build something with it. Most people, they hit them and they stay down, because
Mhm.
I myself know how it is, how it could be. So what I can say, my brother, is that, God has something in store for you, and that's the reason why as you rightly said, Prime Legacy started, and behind Prime Legacy is a why. One of the things I always say to guests when I come on this program is that, and most people, whether they're selling a product or whether they're doing something, everybody have a why they start what they start. That's a driving factor that keep you going, even when your physical body saying, God, stop now, take a rest. That why factor, and your why factor to me would be the close relationship you had with your dad and the news that you said you got at that time, especially studying. I mean, that had to be difficult, and then soon after that, you lost someone else to school. So, for somebody who had a lot of loss myself, I could say I know how that could be. I wouldn't know how it affect you, but I know through my journey how it affected me. So I have enough respect for you, my brother. And Prime Legacy it is a pinnacle of what you've been through and what you're going to become based on what drives you. You understand?
Yeah,
So congratulations, man. And so Prime Legacy now, give me a rundown. I know it started. What do you do, Prime Legacy?
okay. So Prime Legacy, as it says in the name, it's a wellness company.
Yeah.
Right now, I started it to focus on men again because of what my father went through.
Yes.
Because what I've seen over the years, especially traveling around the country and even to Brazil with martial arts, is that men don't take their health and wellness seriously until they have no choice.
Yes. Correct.
The ladies don't do that. The ladies go making
Check
sure
it.
they
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
taking walks and they're taking the vitamins and they're doing they make sure and check on they check in with their sisters. They have the little the circles where they talk and they vent, and they have that. But men, we don't do that because we have this. It's kind of like as a false perception of the world where they think that, nah, I don't need no help, man. I cool. As a man, I ain't need no help. Like that small thing. But the stewing in the corner by the self. Like, boy, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with me. Why I feeling like this? I feeling sluggish. But very small thing, but that must be gas. It is like we
Yeah,
love to
yeah.
use gas as the
For everything. Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
So when I realized that, I said no, like there's a gap in the market here. There's somebody needs to tell these guys, don't wait until you have no choice to focus on your wellness, to focus on your wellness,
Well said, my brother.
right? And wellness isn't fitness. Fitness is a part of wellness, right? Fitness, okay, eating the right things, making sure you go to the gym, if you're not a gym rat, you're making sure you're taking your runs, you're doing your hits, all of those different things. But wellness is that physical fitness, mental fitness, and spiritual fitness.
Yes.
If you don't have if you don't have them, if you don't have that tied in, your life still would fall apart even if you're the fittest person in the world. I'm sure you've heard of
Correct.
fit guys going into
Mhm.
depression and then ending it all.
Yes.
So there's so many
Yeah.
stories, guys and girls.
Yeah.
So it's not just about fitness. You have to have that wellness, to be able to see the world in such a way where no matter what life throws at you, you'll still be able to overcome.
Yeah.
And that is the basis of Prime Legacy.
Right. And that's excellent, my brother. And I hope, I know I say this before I continue, that I hope in this 2025, Prime Legacy and Fortress Fitness can do something, because we all under the umbrella of the same niche. I would love to do something with you, and we will have to meet up and have a conversation, because as rightly as you said, which I've said before in different programs, that men is together with ego one, and society expect us to always be strong. When we was brought up, our parents would have told us, at least my parents, and "Oh, God, so crying is a man don't cry, boy," that kind of thing now, right? And let us feel that we always have to be strong, even when we don't want to be, or we're hurting. And rightly, as you said, men don't take care of themselves. Men don't, they get a pain. I know a certain man, a family member might die because he was getting a pain, and he says gas, and really his appendix was erupted and
Yep.
it burst and he died, right? So the thing about it is, we don't want to go to the doctor. We believe a hot cup of orange peel is always the answer. And the thing is that ego, it kind of egocentric, whereby we don't want to go and do that particular test,
No.
right? And even in this modern time, they have modern ways to get it done,
Yeah.
and men still not going to do it. As you rightly said, women are going to do the pap smear every year and whatever, right? I was like that back in the day, and I came out of that mindset and realized, up to this day, I have a relationship with my doctor for the last 12 years, whereby I develop a relationship is every year. I go to a check. If I get a pain here, I go, you know what? As you said, better be safe than sorry. And whilst I have a reservation on medical practitioner, I more lean to natural medicine, but they have the route as well, where you can go and do a test to find out what's going on. And then you could take it from there, what angle you want to go in after you know what is happening. So we desperately need run men like you, uh, foundation like yours, business like yours, Prime Legacy, to be more visible out there, right? Where men is concerned, because you don't see groups of men having conversation as what we
No.
have in now. You see groups
No.
of women, right? Society have all kind of what do you say, hot number for women, whether it's battered women, whether it's whatever, they have things there.
Yeah.
They don't have nothing for men, right? Because the world expect us to always be strong. And that is why when you look at social media way, and even some here, a lot of men are alive in themselves. And when you see them, they say, but I don't talk to this man was smiling, but we dying on the inside.
Hmm.
Yeah, and we believe that we can't talk to anyone. So
Yeah.
you will always get my support in what you do. And how do you I want to ask this, how do you how do you where do you how do you meet, how do that message that we're talking about tonight,
Hmm.
how do you get the opportunity to talk to men, and to that message audience, but it's so critical? Do you have do you do motivational men speaking in companies, seminars, that kind of thing? How do you get that message out? It's critical.
Mm. But currently, I have a newsletter. I use
Oh, great,
Yeah.
great.
So I use LinkedIn a lot, right?
Yes,
As actually through LinkedIn, I met your executive producer,
yes,
and we made the link up.
yes, she told
So
me.
yeah, so I use LinkedIn a lot. I write on LinkedIn. I have
Nice,
a
nice.
newsletter where I talk
Mm.
about different aspects of wellness, whether it be spiritual wellness, physical wellness, mental wellness, and yeah, that's basically what I do. I also have, now it's dormant right now, but I also have a podcast with my best friend, called Legacy of the King, and it talks about the struggles that we go through, health, wellness, business, um, everything associated with men that men go through an experience. We talk about it on that podcast as well, and it's actually going to be relaunching soon. So look out for that as well. But
Of course,
that's
of course.
basically it. I write and I have the podcast.
Right. That's what it is for now. And anything Fortress can do, because my brand is, as you know, Fortress Fitness Lifestyle Magazine. There's a holistic approach to wellness, mind, body, and soul. And I'm glad that you mentioned, and you're so correct. Wellness is not fitness. It's two different things. And fitness have a part to play in that pot. That pot that is that what is called a callaloo. Fitness have a role to play, right? But I know people who's very fit, and they struggle with depression and things like that. And you only can stay so long in the gym,
Mm-hmm.
when you're home, or when in your mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what I find, Ron, is that even strangers that I meet in the gym, in the locker room, and start up a conversation, men, it
Mm-hmm.
goes on for a while, and they leave saying, this is real good. Men just not getting the avenue to rap on, boy. That's serious. It's
And
serious.
and Victor, you touched on something like connecting this with with something you said earlier, that we don't have, the women have the circles that they come together and they talk. We don't have brotherhoods like that. And that is actually what saved me in capoeira, because capoeira is a very community based martial art,
Yes, yes, yes.
and everybody's working to help sharpen each other, especially the guys. Like, because my school, we had, let's say 80-20 men to women, so it was more guys. So the guys making sure they sharpen each other all the time, constantly pushing each other to the limit. And if they're struggling, there's still that help. There's no one laughing at you or looking down at you if you can't execute a kick effectively, or do a move effectively. They always try to help you get to that next level. And that camaraderie, plus obviously, well, capoeira is a little different because we have music as well.
Yes, yes, yes.
Um, that plus the music is what took me out of that, because it was bad. Like, trust me, it was really bad. There was one night, I could talk about this. My wife knows about this. It was a night, let's say 9 years ago now. My ex-girlfriend cheated on me, and I saw her, and I just sat there in the car. Obviously it ended. Everything ended,
Yeah, well, yeah.
and I sat there in the car, and I was numb. I was numb to life. I was numb to the world. Like, that night, I remembered there was a bottle of bleach under the sink outside of my home where I grew up. I was still living home at the time, and I was like, like, I could just take that and just go and lie down. And I was driving home with that in mind,
Yeah.
and but I just heard a voice saying, "You have too much to give to this life.
Yes, yes. Thank God for that.
Don't end it now." And I immediately, when I got home, I just went and sleep. The next day, I had capoeira training. I didn't want to go, but my teacher actually called me, and he said, "Come to training. Let's come to training." Because I haven't seen you in a while, because I didn't go for like 2 weeks.
Hmm.
I was like, "I ain't seeing you. Come to training." And I just went, and I never stopped after that day. That was 2016. Yeah, 2016. The end of 2016. I never stopped after that day. I trained every single day, and that is what
Wow.
took me out. And that community, having that community, is what men lack. Like you have your friends, but the real community where you could call somebody and say, "Hey,
Yes, yes, yeah.
I just want to talk to you. You don't need to give me advice. I just want somebody to listen to me."
Listen, yes, listen.
And
Yeah.
we don't have that, and that is also something that I'm trying to build with Prime Legacy, because what it is that we do is, if let's say I onboard you, I'm not onboarding you alone, because what we're doing, we're building a brotherhood, because we're trying to get to another level. We're trying to push our limits, but we can't push our limits alone. I might need you to say, "Hey, I see you struggling with this. I doing good in this. Let me see if I can help you out."
Yes.
You see, and having that rapport and that back and forth, we kind of build a sense of belonging, and that is what we need in the man's world. We don't have that.
No, we don't
Everybody
have.
is every man for himself,
Yes,
but we don't,
yes.
and that's what we need. We need that camaraderie. We need that brotherhood, and that is the way we could start to heal as men.
Yeah. Every man is for themselves, hurrying to go nowhere
Hmm.
together and trying to make it by themselves.
Yeah.
And doesn't matter. We even in religious beliefs, and I'm a religious person, and I believe in God and obviously Jesus. And even Jesus, who could have done it alone, he didn't choose three or four, he chose 12, right?
Hmm.
And to show us that brotherhood is important and to love one another. I mean, just simple that line alone, should show you that we run down things that don't have no emotional value, which is material stuff, whether it's money and clothes and car and all these things that cannot bring comfort to us when we in that mental state. Because you and I know a lot of famous persons away who had everything that we're talking about here: money, fame, and they unalive themselves.
Hmm.
And this he had a lot actually.
Yeah.
So it goes to show that when you talk about creating a platform for men to be able to, whether there's a hotline where we can, somebody could say, what, according this number, which is represent Prime Legacy, and they can, someone on the other side of that phone will pick up and say, hey, what's happening? If it means that they had to set an appointment in the sense of, hey, come down or whatever, in a structural way, I think that by itself, somebody knowing, like you talk about when you went through that situation with your ex with the beach, and you have a voice talk to you, but a lot of us may not hear the voice. And obviously, a lot of people hearing voices, but they continue with it, right? So
Hmm.
at least if they know there's a number or a organization or someone they can call, I think that is still better than not having anything right now, which we don't have, as you know, from the national level down, from the government, from the institution. We don't have that. So I support you, my brother. I anything I can do to help make that reach where it is to reach. I think is a very good um, you know business that you have there that you want to start off, because man is the foundation, the pillar of society. And I know a lot of people may have different opinion on that, but it wasn't just my word. And at the end of the day, we need men. We need women too, but we need men, right? And we have to come down from the high horse that tell us, grow us up a certain way, saying, don't share your emotions, that's weakness. And don't, if you need to cry, cry. Crying is not, I grew up here crying is for girls, and that's wrong. You and I know that. I think you know that as well.
Yeah.
When you keep things bottled up, it doesn't end well,
No.
you
No.
know. So that just having that idea to even start that and the background of why you started, that to me, I mean, I spoke to a lot of people here with different things, but that to me, to choose to really try to reach down, down, no matter where you are, as Ron Nelson, you're not reaching up to help men, you're reaching down. right? And it's not about status. It's about men mental status in this world, and especially in Trinidad. They're down there because we accept that we have to do it alone. We accept that, hey, I had to figure it out, right? We accept that, we will take our partner, as you say. You may have a real brethren. You can say, let me watch a football match, let me go, but to open up intimately to just say, bro, having some problem, whether it's work, whether it's self-doubt, self-belief, whether it's your wife, your girlfriend, whatever. We need that conversation. It's easy for female, but it's hard for us.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
and that's the thing. When you hit your lowest, I think that's the point where you have to let your ego go. And we find it hard to let our egos go.
Yes, correct.
We need to realize that there needs to be introspection when we trying to get ourselves out of the darkness that we're in, because the thinking that got you into the situation is not the thinking that's going to get you out of the situation.
Well said, my brother.
And
Well
we
said.
have to realize as men that our ego is important, but if we don't control it, if we don't rein it in, it can destroy us.
Yes.
And we have to realize, okay, yeah, I might have the money, I might have the cars, I might have the big house, and it's my ego that got me that, but I'm empty inside.
Hey, yes.
And my ego is not going to get me out of that, because what my ego is going to do is going to say, hey, and I feeling sad, like go and buy a next Benz,
Mm.
or let's buy another property, and you get the other property and you feel nice for a few days, and then like
Back
I'm
to
still
this
feeling
level.
empty.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So you have to realize the ego, yes, it's helpful, but you need more than that.
Yes. They always say, happiness starts from within. And I have learned all of this through the, what I say, dark days or the highs of or the lowest of adversity in my life. I have found myself when I was at the lowest. I think that when you go through things in life, I think that is where, as you rightfully said, is drop your ego and accept where you are, and accept the responsibility of yourself. Who it might be yourself, get yourself there, right? And accept it. It's fine to accept it. Say, you know what? All right, I'm done. All right, how can I now? All right, how can I get up? Falling
Yeah,
down is not a problem.
yeah,
Right? You as a professional athlete and martial artist and a trainer and everything else that is that you and I know you fall off plenty times. Whether you're learning a kata, whether you're learning a technique, you don't get it right the first time, right? But you continue to go in and go in and go in, right? Giving up has never been an option. It's
no,
easy to say that, I understand, but it's still not an option. And everybody who say, you know what, I can't go on. And you and I know you might be in a relationship, as you mentioned, and we all been there, I've been there, and you go through and it's like you just feel at the time that hurt, just feel like you can't get out of this one. But if you manage to come out and the Lord bless you with somebody who was meant for you, that memory of that past hurt just disappear, right? And
true.
it disappears. At least I can speak for me. It disappears, and it himself is still, himself you get flashback. But at the end of the day, you're in a better place with the person that you would know who's showing you that, you know what, I respect you, I see you for who you are, and I will do those things. That's where confidence come in and the ego come in and say, you know what, in spite of what happened then, but here I am now, and I'm being loved by the way that I think I should have been in the first place, or respected. You understand?
Yeah,
And we are not handling relationship issues well, we men, right? Because when I look at social media locally, some of the ill things is happening. Most of the doer is men. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. Because men, we love differently. Like when we decide that we're going to, it's almost like when we decide that we're going to give our heart to somebody, it's kind of like dying. It's like I'm going to put my life in this person's hands, and who's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
going
yeah,
to
yeah,
throw it on the ground.
yeah.
So when, let's just say, okay, they get heartbreak, or there's some infidelity or whatever, a lot of men can't take it because we like, it may not seem like it because they say men cheat so much and so on, but
Mm,
at our core, like forgetting the other things that would have negatively influenced us psychologically, at our core we love unconditionally.
mhm.
We make money, or we aspire to make money so that we could have dependence. We
Yes.
could have people relying on us,
Mm-hmm.
right? Ladies make money a lot, well, not all, but a lot of them. They make money so that they could be independent,
Yes. Correct.
right? So when we get our hearts broken, or when we feel we're not needed, it's like the worst thing. The world falls apart for us.
Yes, that's true.
And you said something earlier that made me remember. You said when you fall apart is when you find yourself.
Yes, I went through that, bro. I
Yeah,
can speak. Yeah,
yeah.
I went
Um,
through that.
the the great martial artist Bruce Lee said, "To die is to be liberated from
Yes,
something."
I heard that. I heard that. I heard
Right?
that from him. Yes.
And the first time I heard it, I didn't understand what he meant. It wasn't, what, to die is to be wait, what that
Yeah.
mean? But I understand, like, when the ego dies is when you really find who you truly are, and you're now free to be who you really are. The ego is not you. The ego is an archetype that that is there to protect you
Correct.
and to
Correct.
help you survive, but it's not you. And a lot of us are afraid for that to die because we feel that that's all we have.
Yes.
And for a lot of us, when it dies, we can't go on again. And that's when the unaliving happens. But if we are able to sit in that mud and sit in that darkness and get out on the other
Mm,
side, you'll see a whole new world. There's a different world that you get to experience when you make it out on the other side. But you have to
yes.
go through that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I had to go through that.
Have to
Yes.
go through that. And you can't have regrets, like heartbreak. Like, I've learned so much from heartbreak and disappointment, and
Yeah.
even death, like losing my father. When he died, I felt as though, I wasn't ready to be a man yet. I was 23, 24 at the time. Like, I felt I wasn't ready to be a man yet, and he was the person teaching me how to be a man. I didn't know what to do. But what happens is, when that happens, God always puts somebody to replace. Like, no one could replace my father, but there's always some kind of father figure or mentor, someone that comes to kind of get you to where you need to get to. You don't, you wouldn't miss out on what you need to learn. God always replaces that loss. If you lose something that's valuable to you, there's always the replacement. It wouldn't be the exact thing, but at least the principle comes. And that's what matters.
Yes. And what you said there is on point. And the person that I came out, it wasn't the same person that went in. And looking back, and I know you could resonate with this. When you're going, you look back, hey, it was when it was there, it was, you just feel like, the world closing up and you the brightest room feeling dark, that kind of thing. But there is a voice that's come in your head that, saying, what? It's two choices, we can stay there, right? A lot of people stay there and, unalive themselves, as you rightfully said. And there's a chosen few who decide, you know what, I will use this pain, right, to propel myself upwards, to become the best version of myself. And, in some cases, like you, and I did a podcast with a guy last year around January, February, I forgot his name, but he was in England. And he actually tried to kill himself. And he was actually talking about mental health as well. He become a speaker, advocate, a crusader for men because of he tried to kill himself based on similar things we're talking about, and he found a purpose when he didn't achieve that particular exercise, right? So based on what we're saying here with each other of when there's heartbreak, when there's loss, which we both would have experienced, here we are motivating people, inspiring people, trying to find ways to help others. When the truth of the fact, when we were going through everything, and no disrespect to anybody, I felt alone. I didn't have nobody to help me. Right? I'll be honest with you. Yeah. So I was in the same position that feel that, you lost. My mother was my rock at that time. And I felt that, hey, where did I go from here? And at that same age, around 23 or 24, somewhere around there, I did just trying to wet my feet in life as a young boy. So a young man. So the thing about it is, however I came out of it, when I speak to people, when people see me out there, I look all strong, and not just physically, confidence and things like that, but my past, I didn't just arrive here by chance. I choose a different route because I feel there's more in me to give than stay back there and become somebody that I wasn't meant to become. So this life that I'm living and what I'm doing, I feel a sense of pride. I feel is my purpose, is my gift to be going out there and talking to people and letting them know that even though everything collapsed around you, there's still hope, there's still belief. Find out why. Find out why. Sometimes it's tough to find a why in that, but it always have, if you really stay in your silence and find out why, because you could say what you said because you live it. I could say what I said because I live it. So talking to somebody who went through something, a lot of people will gravitate more to somebody who've been through certain challenges, who have been in the fire and the brimstone and came out of it and say, you know what, hey, I'm going to take these stones and this fire and build an empire to help people who going down there, to let them know that, hey, I have an answer out of this furnace, and because I went through it. So for you, a lot of people will always resonate with you, just how I resonated with you, with not knowing your story of trials, and loss, grief, and purpose, right? Because I could feel the purpose in your presentation, your voice, and the passion that is founded and grounded in, your legacy, right? So, my brother, I mean, what I can say right now as we continue, may God bless that you and your passion for what you want to do there, what you are doing, and again, once you put God first, all is possible. And it was I believe to run. You don't meet people by chance. This journey I've been on has been a non-stop roller coaster, and I only can thank God for it, because the kind of people I've met, some bring tears to my eyes because people going through things already, run. People going through things, man. Yeah. People going through things. I have met people who beat cancer on this program. I've met people who doctors say, hey, no, your liver, and come on this platform and, he's just giving thanks and saying, you know what, they find that purpose to go on. So man could say the end of the road for you, but we all have a purpose, we all have a purpose, and it's be felt when you bounce up someone who actually, been through certain things, and you all resonate, so the not much men I've seen in Trinidad actually campaigning for men, right? I haven't seen, publicly, like how you're building this legacy, you're writing, use a good example of a young boy, because we don't have proper role models of men in Trinidad. I don't want to talk about the world. Let's just talk about home, right? We don't have proper role model, because I think a lot of us get mixed up between a successful person, male figure, and a role model. because most of the successful male figure in Trinidad, we all of a sudden we label them as role model, but they didn't ask for it, and the lifestyle they live is not role model. And I will say this, right, without any kind of feeling anyhow. All the people who we say, oh, he's a successful entertainer, a successful athlete, a successful businessman. That's fine. You could say, you know what, if you want to go into business, you want to be in sports, fine. This is a person you could follow the ethics, the work ethics. But to be a role model, that's a different story. We even call it gangsters, not role model community leaders. That's how bad reach. So we don't have role models, right? So people like yourself who choose to say, you know what, I'm going to be the example how I want my son to grow up. And that's basically what you're doing now.
Yeah.
Right? I want to be the example how I want to see my nephew must look at me and say, Uncle, I want to be like Uncle, right? Your son, your brother, your sister must say, you know what, I want a man, or your niece, I want a husband, like my Uncle Ron or like my cousin Ron. That is important, That is important. So again, you're doing something that we need in this society, my brother. From the highest level, from prime minister, president, come down. You see what's going on.
Yeah. Definitely.
You see what's going on.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
So we need that, and we have to get run an avenue, a platform, whether it's radio. I mean, you have to get, as I said, I meet a lot of people who have influence in what I do, but and there's a lot of things I'm working on. But you have to get, and I say, whatever I can do to assist and help, the platform is important, because I myself, and I'm not immune to wanting to talk to somebody too. I might be a lot better, and I wouldn't do certain things like on a night myself. But rapping with a brother, positive brother, that by itself is healing,
Yeah.
You
And even just sometimes to hear a different perspective.
Correct.
Is what they need.
Correct. Because we're rapping here. I mean, most of when I came on this podcast, we'll talk about the men's mental health, health and wellness and things like that. But wouldn't have known that you've been through certain things, and thank you for just being open, just as but you've touched into a lot of fields that I myself touch on, in sports, right? And that goes to show that, communicating, dialoguing, as you rightfully say, a different perspective, that is all it takes sometimes to just say, you know what, I'll be all right, look what Ron been through, I can be all right, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? Because they have guys going through things, they have guys going through stuff,
and communication, like you was mentioning, that like we struggle with communication a lot, and like you said, that you could hear the passion in my voice, but I wasn't always like this. I struggled with communication. I struggled speaking to people, and it took a long time for me to be confident with speaking to people and coming on this. If you asked me 7 years ago to come on your podcast, I'd be like, you have to be crazy. You have to be crazy.
Yeah.
Like we are bad at communicating. We don't like to communicate, and we need to learn how to effectively relay our feelings, relay what we're thinking, and so that we could improve our relationships with one another.
Yes, that's important, my brother. And I like how you put it there, because that's exactly what we need. And I know for the guys who are looking at this program, the men, right? To take away from this podcast is communication, as Ron rightfully said. Communication, putting our ego down for when we need to speak to somebody. Picking it back up when you go out to the world to work and we need to take on life. Yes, that's fine, but put it down. Find ourselves, talk to somebody, call a partner, call somebody, talk to somebody, right? And physical activities, I believe men should be involved, no matter what. It don't have to be the gym. It could be martial arts, as you rightfully say, and you're correct, right? go in the savannah, play some football, go take a run, do whatever it is. But men need to find ways to just distress, just to group it with other men. Because those sports, a lot of men will be there, and you could just be in a man's zone for a period of time, and you might develop a relationship with a body where you could chat. You could because I developed some good friendship, especially in martial arts, right? Because you know where it's go. You know that those kind of disciplines, right?
Yeah.
And it teaches you, which I didn't know at the time when I went in. I went in to fight to learn to beat people. You know what I mean? But when I came out of that, it's not what I learned only. What I learned is, humility, be
Yeah.
humble.
Like you think you're going into martial arts to learn to fight, and when you come out on the other side, you're more peaceful.
Yes, that's strange actually, because
You actually don't want to fight.
yes, yes, you're so right. Because I was like, when you learn to fight properly, you
Yeah.
just don't want to fight.
No.
Because Professor Isaac put us down and real talk, give us life lessons that I carry up to this day. And and you would know at your level and based on that, like the time you're doing that, I think it's because you know that I think because you know what you're capable of, it's better to walk away because the person on the other side would never know who they really molested,
No.
right? And if they knew, they would not have. So that's why the discipline of learning the right thing should teach you to walk away from confrontation because you know you could defend yourself more than the average Joe, and you walk away. So that's what I learned as well back then. That I up to this day I walk away from confrontation and argument and things. Up to this day, I don't really like those kind of things, and I choose to be the more on the subtle side, except when I'm in the gym or I doing my thing now, boy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? But that's me. I've been in a different zone. But one of the things that Jordan Peterson said, because I listen to a lot of Jordan, Les Brown, Jim Rohn, and these guys,
Yeah.
and one thing that he said is that if you get up in the morning and before we come out of bed, think about the little thing, the stupid thing that we just do. It could be putting your slippers in the right way. It could be just wash your cup after your coffee. Just little things. There's so much things we could correct in ourselves, but
Yeah.
most
Make your
people
bed.
make your bed.
Yeah.
But you see, we feel that I keep saying the hustle and the bustle don't shape us. It actually pulls us away from ourselves
Yeah.
to realize down the road, as you rightly said, most athletes who give up sports and they just get into life and they fall into the just yes, they put on weight, they get unhealthy, and a lot sometimes end up in depression. You understand? The money or the material things don't really, professionals proven this. Material things does not bring happiness.
No.
It don't. You
No.
know, it don't. You run it down. Strange, eh? You run down something for 30 years, 40, and to realize the end of that race, you're still unfulfilled.
Yeah.
It's strange, eh?
Fulfillment comes from within. Fulfillment doesn't come from the things you acquire outside. It doesn't come from buying land or a house or cars or having millions of dollars. That's not what it comes from. Yes, these things help,
It helps. It helps.
but that is not the basis of fulfillment. That's not the basis of living a joyous or happy or fulfilled life. That comes from within. That comes from knowing, one, firstly, that you are enough. And secondly, you have so much potential you don't even realize that you have
Yes.
inside of you. And once you get that potential out, or you start getting that potential out, like, look, when I realized that those two nuggets, that's what started to get me out of the darkness. Like, you need to realize that, one, you are enough. Like I wrote this post of about a year and a half or so ago, where your body, the male body, creates around 300 billion sperm or so, and sends it out to reach an egg. So out of 300 billion sperm, you were the one that made
Uh,
it here.
yeah.
you clearly are something special,
Yes, you
right?
are.
So you are enough. And
Yes.
secondly, there's so much potential inside of you that if you just show yourself the attention and the love that you give to the material things outside, your life is going to be so different where you feel like, I really don't need this car. I don't even need 15 cars. I could just have
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
two just for functionality. I might be able to carry the car off road, so I'll have a 4x4. But I don't need 15 cars. What I need 15 cars for? What I need this big house for? I could just get a small, a little 2 bedroom, a 3 bedroom for me and my wife and my children. I don't need all of this. This is too much. I haven't been on the other wing of my house for the past 2 years. Why I need
Yeah.
a house this big?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you only find that when you realize that inside that you are enough and you also have the potential to be so much.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's something that, you mentioned some there. We go to school from preschool to primary school to college, university, and they teach us to run down the same thing that you now mentioned, that don't bring us fulfillment or happiness, because university and school from primary teaches you to run down to get house, car, all the material things,
Mhm.
right? They don't teach us in school as men, or to say, hey, try to try to strike a balance in spite of the curriculum. They just teaches you about education and about not even life, about go to school, get education, get a good job, get passes, get a good job, and start a family. They tell you how to start a family. They tell you start a family,
Mhm.
try and be as successful as you can, and that is really making it in life.
Mhm.
There's little gray areas in that patch that a lot of people follow those steps and actually reach those pinnacle in life, to realize that there's some the patches that they miss, that it wasn't taught, is more important than the material things
Yeah,
that they have. And as important as they are, as you rightly said, money is important, but it's not the most important
yeah,
in this life now.
that's true. Because in secondary school or in school in general, they always ask you what you want to do or what you want to be when you grow up. They don't ask you how you want to be
Or who you want to be.
or who you want to be.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything is about occupation. Nothing is
Correct.
about just being and living.
Yes. Yeah.
Because like you said, we all have a purpose. And our purpose is not necessarily tied to an occupation.
Correct.
You
So
know.
correct. So correct. And a lot of the successful entrepreneurs in the world, right, went against that teaching.
Yeah.
You know that.
They
And
did.
and those are the ones that who created lifetime legacy, based on, some was told that they will never become nothing. Some was told that is a failure. But as you said it just now, who is to say that your purpose is lie in the education system? Who
Mhm.
says it's there in the curriculum?
Mhm.
Some people, right? But so far the history has shown these trillionaires and billionaires out there all follow the system, not
Mhm.
one or two, all,
Yeah.
right? I'm not saying that to encourage people to not go to school,
No.
but I mean, the evidence speaking for itself. You
Yeah.
know, all these platforms that we on, all is men who drop out,
Mhm.
and follow what they believe is their purpose.
Yeah.
And it really and truly was their purpose, and because they was passionate about. And that's
Mhm.
why I think either Jim Rohn or Les Brown said, if you really find your passion, you like what you do, and you would rather work for nobody the rest of your life.
No.
Just find what you're passionate about, your purpose. It might be making money now,
Mhm.
but if you stick to it, you'll be the best at it, because nobody can really be your purpose great as you as yourself.
No.
You understand? So your why and your passion you have for doing what you're doing. I could be a good in whatever field that I am, but I can live your purpose. I can
No.
live and I can have your passion for what you're doing. for what
No.
your purpose in life. So this is what is, we all have a different purpose. So again, this conversation, you see, what we have in here, Ron, is so critical and so vital. We might think of it as, well, we're just having a podcast and we're talking about, health and men and this and that, but the conversation you and I having now is conversation that 95 or 8% of the men right now in Trinidad is not having.
No. No.
I can tell you that.
Nah, they're not having it. They're not having it. Trust me, like you could pass by any bar right now, and I can guarantee you this is not the conversation they're having. They're not
No,
talking about Jim
no.
Rohn. They're not talking about what's wrong.
No, they're talking about, they're
All kind
talking
of
about,
things.
yeah, all kind of thing, right? And you know what? There's a time for that. But
Yeah.
we lost focus. Not we lost it. I think we lost focus as men in this world now. And we lost it so bad that some men give up. It appears that they give up their masculinity and they pass it over to the opposite sex in order to say, I go be a stay-home dad. And I say nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying, right? I say, I will just rock back. I'm okay with this. We was designed to push, to
Yeah.
keep fighting. We was designed to keep fighting.
Yeah.
Where that fight take us, only God knows. But we wasn't meant to rock back and the easy way out. We was meant to grab the bull by the horn, go out there in the vineyard and bruise our hands to become something to take care of our family.
Yeah, and
That's
you can
what-
see it in babies. You see it in babies all the time. Like it's innate in us. It's innate in babies. Like when they want something, they just go for it. They just, especially the boys, like they have to get this thing. Like they will climb the highest cupboard because they see this thing and they want to get it. But then there is the socializing, and a lot of the times now, these new generations, a lot of them are growing up in single parent homes. They
Yes.
don't have the dad around. They don't
Yes.
have that what did the archetype of a man. They don't have that. I'm actually working on a new newsletter talking about, actually no, I wrote that newsletter already, of course. talking about the rite of passage or initiation. There's a book, one of my favorite books, called Archetypes of the Mature Masculine, Warrior, King, Magician, Lover. And it talks about how men don't have that rite of passage from boyhood into manhood. And that's because we don't have the male role models that could take us from the 10-year-old boy kind of now trying to figure things out into that teenager who already has his mind linked to manhood. Like, I know where I'm going. I know who I am, and I know where I'm going. We don't have that rite of passage anymore. And now they look to the television, they look to YouTube, they look to the internet for that direction. And that's actually what's leading them down the dark path.
Of course they're going to the dark path because what is seen on social media is just for social media. It's not a real thing. So when you see someone who they will look at to as a role model, showing the best side of their life on social media to get clicks and to get money, that's not the reality of life.
No.
But they're not, because they don't have the proper real role model, they run with that. And that's why a lot of these young fellas in them know, and not just fellas, in the females.
The girls too.
The people who they want to be like is people they shouldn't want to be like.
Yeah.
People who selling the body, people who OnlyFans, people who doing things that, so again, that's role model that they're seeing, and the glamour looking nice now. Whether it's the rapper with the big goal and the this and the that, but that is just a sales pitch.
Yeah, and I found something a few years back. about that. A lot of these people don't own the things that they're showing on social media.
No, they don't. They don't.
They don't own the house. They don't own the chain. They don't own the watch.
No.
They actually borrow it and
they advertise it. Yes. I found that out late too. Right? And I actually listened to Tyrese in the Breakfast Club recently. They had that thing, and he said, no, you buy this for $10 on Amazon. It look like it real.
Yeah.
he said, but when they go in the black carpet, the red carpet, it's all rented clothes and rented
Yeah.
jewelry,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But the non-wiser little young brothers, they looking to go to do things that, wrong things to acquire those things, and
Yeah.
not even trade that away as well,
Yeah. We
right?
as well. Yeah.
Not fully understanding that industry is all fake,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, it's not really real. They
No.
live in a lifestyle, but there's people behind them that telling them what to say, what to do, what to wear, and nothing, they don't have it
Mm-hmm.
and their own.
Yeah.
So that's really what it is. So Ron, there's some people that I brought back. I brought back about 4 people in this podcast within months. I brought back about two doctors, some nutritionists, a couple of speakers, and I brought people back because they're very informative, the topics, and I know the people would like to hear topics like this again, and the review has been good with those people, and I know this one will be when I get the feedback from my 700 and some people on the page who just follow me and support what I'm doing. And as we go along, I will always, like to have you back later on, just to continue a conversation like this with men, specifically to men, because I think it's needed, and especially today in our country, it's critical. It reached a critical stage now, and
Definitely.
I really want to, to in whatever way, we should do something, a seminar or something. We will link up. We will
Yeah,
link
for
up
sure.
because
And
I
I'd
think
love
we.
to be back.
Yes, I will have you back. I mean, I nobody can stop people having you back because I am Fortress, right? So
Yeah.
it was a pleasure, Ron. I know we run out of time. Candice I know she's tuning in when she finished voting because she was really excited. When I tell her, I say, Candice, thanks for this hookup. Because when she met you, she called me one time. She said, Vic, are the ideal person for your podcast. I said, well, sending him. She said, boy, he's a martial arts, he's a this, he's that, he's a speaker man. I said, she thing. And she said, this much, all right. Get in contact for me. And what she did. So I'm grateful to my editor and chief Candice Reed Bettel.
Yeah.
She knows that I love her a lot. She believed in my vision from get-go. She was the only one believing it. And we are doing good things. And wherever Fortress goes, she goes, and I want to thank her for this contact. And I know it's a community of wellness and professional that we both build in our own separate niche. And that is what we need. We have just 2 out of many to come.
Yeah.
And we will create a wave, right? So, Ron, I want to thank you for coming. May God bless you and your family. Continue to put God first. Continue to strive, in your excellence, and be the example as you are to not just the younger one, to other men, young and old, right? And I am not one. I will say this on this platform. I am not one that is, need motivation. I am not one that is very rare need inspiration, and I very rare I local people I really look up to, But I would say that you are an inspiring person that I really respect. And although I don't meet you just by how you cry about yourself, what you've been through, and your passion and your drive for what you want to do or what you're doing, I would say that I respect that, and I have great respect for you, and so thanks for making the time, and we're going to catch up again.
Victor, that means a lot to me. I really appreciate that. I never thought of being inspiring anybody, but just hearing that, it makes me realize that I'm doing the right thing. And it's been a pleasure being on your platform. I wish you and the company the best. Thanks to Candice for linking us up, and I'm definitely looking forward to doing some other things in the future with you guys.
Thank you so much, man. Have a blessed night, and we'll keep in
Same to
touch.
you.
Yes,
Take
my
care.
brother. Yes. All right. So that was Ron Nelson, right? Mental health, professional trainer. He is he's doing wonderful thing. So tune in next week again, where I will have another interesting guest coming on the program talking about health, wellness, fitness, nutrition, and all of that. It's a boy Vic here, Fortress Fitness Lifestyle Podcast. Stay safe, stay blessed, exercise. Take care. Have a blessed night.